Well, I think we should get started. That's okay with you. And Chad, are you aboard?
Yes, I am.
Hi, Chad, once again. All right. Well, welcome everybody. My name's Louis Delaware. I'm with the Living in Place Institute, and I'm going to try to moderate these two guys. These two guys are brilliant individuals in their own areas. Mr. Chad Root is the chief building official for City of Louisville, and he should know most everything that's going on city-wise. And then Robbie Schwartz, he's with Energy Smarts. He's the residential new homes advisor. I hope I have that correct, Robbie.
Yeah.
So first question that I have, and mind you, I lost my home in all of this as well. I lived in the enclave, and so we're in the process of doing the same thing that most of you are doing. We've got a little hitch in our giddy up, and that we've been delayed in doing our structural engineering work. So some of the stuff that we're going to talk about tonight, it's great because I'm going to learn from these two individuals what should be done. So, all right. So unfortunately, we don't have anybody from Superior here with us tonight. It's unfortunate, but nonetheless, I think Robbie may know some of the things for Superior as well as Chad as to how they're approaching things. So Chad, let's start with you. What resources are typically available from Louisville in regards to the various codes that are out there?
As far as resources, pretty much building staff is available to the architects, engineers, homeowners at a request of just coming into the city and asking questions as far as, hey, we're looking at rebuilding our home. And we heard that, hey, we get an incentive if we go with the 2021 IECC versus the 2018 Louisville prescriptive code from XL Energy. And we also heard there's a use tax rebate or basically where you get it back. And we can help with that. And, as far as other questions, as far as, hey, we're looking at this sort of construction, is it feasible to do? Or our geotech report, we have one for our neighbors. Is that available? Can we use that to save some of the cost on the rebuild? So, city staff is available to help with the rebuild process in any way possible. And we're starting to see a lot of plans come through. We have about 118 so far. And I think a little over 50 that have been actually permitted at this point. So we're there to help in any way.
And Robbie, what's available for people in unincorporated Boulder County?
Boulder County, similar to what Chad is saying, is available for questions directly through the building department. And the code is really has been amended pretty substantially. I think I would say for unincorporated Boulder County, they developed a code that's based off of the IECC or the International Energy Conservation Code, but achieves the goals in a different way. So they are utilizing not only a prescriptive path that is based off of an energy rating index score, but some of these programs that are actually being incentivized by XL Energy as well there. So that being said, the main reason I bring that up is because if you are rebuilding in unincorporated Boulder County, the incentive to get the 2021 IECC, that is also applicable to Boulder County's Build Smart program. You will also receive that $7,500 if that is what you decide to do, is just comply with Boulder County's code.
So the International Residential Code, or IRC, which version is unincorporated Boulder County working off of?
So that's different. The International Residential Code, I believe they're working off of the maybe the 2015 or 18 version.
Okay.
The energy code, the International Energy Conservation Code, their amendments are equivalent to the 2021 IECC. It's just a slightly different compliance path that you take.
So another question that I have is, what from the city or county standpoint, what is the process to go through especially the IECC compliance? I mean, are you looking at having to have HERS stuff or anything else?
So do you want to go first, Chad?
Yeah, go ahead, Robbie.
Okay. Well, I just pulled up a document from Superior. So they're with regardless of which jurisdiction that you are building in, there are compliance options. So you get to choose a different pathway to demonstrate compliance with the code. I'm not speaking for Chad, he'll explain it, but Chad, in Louisville, they have 2 compliance options. In Superior, I believe they have 3 compliance options. And in unincorporated Boulder County, the options are dependent on the size of the house there. So, but in general, they have a couple compliance options dependent on the size of the house there. So the trick is to utilize those options in order to figure out the most cost-effective way to achieve your goal. Now, that being said, that's for code compliance, but if you're trying to achieve a performance goal that is greater or is tied to one of the Xcel Energy's incentive programs, you're already going to meet the 2021 IECC compliance in each of these jurisdictions there. So it only makes sense to permit under the 2021, especially if you are trying to achieve greater performance and also achieve these incentive payments that Xcel Energy is offering.
Chad, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah. So Louis, remember growing up, there used to be the books called Choose Your Own Adventure.
Yeah.
That's the way the City of Louisville Energy Code is kind of set up at this point. It's very flexible in a lot of ways. It's kind of a choose your own adventure book at this point, as far as what you want to get out of it. To give an example, so you can choose the 2018 Louisville Prescriptive Energy Code that was in place before November of 2021. That was modified at the time with the Building Board of Appeals and the Building Department to make it pretty rigorous but prescriptive, and we try to keep it simple for the contracting community. Then council ended up adopting the 2021 with Appendix RC. But originally, the Building Board of Appeals came up with a 2021 prescriptive code as well that's pretty darn close to the 2018 prescriptive code as far as the R values, requirements for efficiency of appliances. On that, they also gave the option to do the 2021 with doing a HERS rating as far as more of a performance, where you had to have a HERS 50. Okay. If that doesn't work for you, there's the 2021 with Appendix RC, which is the net zero. For the fire rebuilt, we are also allowing people to come forward with a passive home. And Robbie can go into that a little bit more because I'm still learning on this, but basically it's the thick thermal envelope, and it has its own rating on that as well. And we are allowing people that are doing the fire rebuilt to come in under that provision as well.
Robbie, can you, I know he just threw out, and I threw out earlier, HERS. What does HERS stand for?
HERS is the Home Energy Rating System that was developed through the Home Energy Rating System was created by an organization called ResNet, or the Residential Energy Services Network. ResNet created an ANSI standard for how you develop a energy rating index score. So the HERS energy rating index score is an energy rating index score that is specific to ResNet. And it's a score that's been adopted across the country to be able to evaluate and determine, in essence, the energy performance of a home in comparison to the 2006 International Energy Conservation Code. So if a house scores 100 on the scale, it would be equivalent to the 2006 International Energy Conservation Code. Every point in relationship to 100 is 1% of energy use, and 0 on the scale would be equivalent to a house that is 0 energy. It produces as much energy as it uses on that scaling system. So we're lucky in jurisdictions like Louisville because they have adopted the HERS energy rating index score, which is commonly used to be able to quantify the performance of their houses for the 2021 IECC. Oh, you muted yourself, Louis.
You're muted.
Louis, you muted yourself.
From the standpoint of, some people like to know a little bit more about what they're getting into. And a lot of the IECC stuff is pretty complex in nature for some people. Can people reach out to someone in Boulder or Louisville or Superior to help them understand the differences and, potential costs increase to be able to go to from one to the other to the other?
Yeah. Well, for my position with Boulder County as the new homes building advisor is to answer those questions, and if I can't answer them, go out to people like Chad and try and get the answers. But I know that Louisville and Superior are also very open to questions.
So Chad, if somebody wanted to ask questions, couldn't they just phone in, or is it better for them to come in for an appointment?
Yeah, either way, they can go ahead and shoot an email if they want something in written format, which sometimes is good when you're dealing with your architects to, hey, forward it to your architect, hey, we need to do this. Phone calls, we take phone calls as well, or you can schedule a time to meet us at the counter if you want an in-person interaction. We'll help you the best that we can. Probably the area, and it's just basically because we're government, the building department, as far as given actual costs, that's where somebody would be better with a contractor that's been doing this for a while to actually know the costs and what you're up against.
Yeah. Louis, if you don't mind, if I could share my screen, I can take you to 2 resources on the rebuildingbetter.org website. That one talks about an explanation of these different programs and codes, and one starts to address the cost issue.
While you're bringing that up, I'm just going to ask people who their microphones are still live to mute themselves, just to make sure we don't have any background noise.
I think you need to disable or enable my ability to share the screen.
Okay. Well, I'm going to give you the option to host the meeting now, because I don't see anything on here as to being able to share a screen, but you're now the host.
Okay. Let's see if I can There we go.
There it is.
Can you see the rebuildingbetter.org
Yep,
website?
I can see it.
So a quick orientation for everybody. The website is broken into a variety of different chapters, and the easiest way to see the chapters is to go to this toolbox at the bottom. You can see there's these variety of different chapters here. It's also divided up into a homeowner side and a builder side, and there's great information on both sides of it. We're going to go into the I'm a builder side here and go into this incentive program mapping tool, which is a spreadsheet that you can download and take a look at. But the nice thing about this spreadsheet is that it has the different incentive programs across the top here, and then really the core requirements of the codes and programs down the left-hand side. So you can look and see, for example, is energy modeling required? Well, yeah, you'll see that it's really basically required by all the different programs there. You can get an idea of the level of performance based off of the energy rating index for each of these programs here. The passive house that Chad was referring to being the highest level of performance. And then you can continue down and get into, well, this is a specific requirement of the Energy Star version 3.2 program, but you see it's also taken care of by these other programs as well here. So this is a great tool to get a kind of an overall idea of what the difference is between these programs and what kind of level of performance you can expect from these programs. It's not meant to supersede the requirements and the checklists and the other documentation for true compliance, but that's what your energy rater and or your builder needs to get into that level of detail on that. Whoops, going back to the to this website, I'm going to take us back to the home page now, and I'm pretty sure it's on the homeowner side here. And if we go down, well, no, it's not there. Where would it be? It's, I believe, maybe it's on rebates and incentives. I'm pretty sure. You scroll down, 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 down. You get to this page here, which is another checklist that you could, or another spreadsheet that you can download. That the EEBC is a Energy Efficient Business Coalition, and they helped us. They helped Energy Smart create this sheet here. And what this sheet does is try to take into account a number of different studies that were done at the beginning of back in February. Group 14 helped Louisville do a costing study. Diverge Homes came out with and released and publicized their cost for rebuilding houses and whatnot. And so this goes through the different factors and different scenarios based off of a 2,500 square foot house to try to give you an idea of cost. And kind of the bottom line is summarized here on line 16 that says the net cost after Excel's rebates and the Colorado Energy Office's incentivization for electrification of a home. You can see it really is, there's a wide range where it could be cheaper to actually build to the 2021 and to these incentive programs, or it could be more expensive. It really depends on the size of the house here. But what this shows is that we are in a really unique time frame right now with regards to being able to give you a definitive answer about cost without the builder actually doing that work for you to price out all the materials that go into the house. Because we're coming out of the pandemic, we have severe supply chain issues still going on there. We have the possibility of going into recession, and we have some some recessionary impacts on our economy right now, it's almost impossible to give you a definitive number outside of these ranges here. What we do know is that before the pandemic, the studies that were done by the national laboratories like Pacific Northwest Labs indicated that the incremental cost of going from the 2018 to the 2021 was in the range of $5,000 to $7,000. So when we hear these large estimates that are in the hundreds of thousands of dollars estimates of going to the 2021 or to these other programs, we know that there's something amiss there, which could be just our current economic state and the supply chain issues and whatnot. But it could also be that, a lot of builders are adding cost into their equation because they haven't built to that code yet, or they haven't built to one of these incentivized programs yet. There are lots of reasons why that could be. But anyway, this is a great resource for you that you can work your way through. And I just wanted to give you some orientation to how to get there. But if you haven't looked at this website, there's just a ton of really good information for you on that website.
So Robbie, or Chad, I understand in the Inflation Reduction Act, there are tax deductions, I believe, maybe rebates. I don't know what it is. It's too difficult to read. I've got other things to do. But that only is if those heat pumps are installed after January 1st.
Yeah. So really all of the Marshall Fire homes should be able to take advantage of. Most of them are tax, what's it called?
Deductions?
It's not, it's basically a tax deduction. It's not, you're not getting money like you are from Excel. You're able to take a tax break in your tax. On your taxes.
So I know in my neighborhood, there's a few houses that are scampering along. I don't know, Chad, is there a way to let the people that may be in the process about to put a heat pump in to say, wait until the 1st?
There is. The biggest problem is a lot of these contractors are moving forward, and staff is busily working on plan reviews for other homes coming through. So we're pretty well, focused right now on trying to get the plan reviews done. But I think that, with some outreach from different community groups, it may be a good bet, hey, there's different ways to outreach, because a lot of times, it's going to be the homeowners that really need to tell the contractors, hey, slow down, wait, don't buy it. Sometimes the contractors don't know.
There are also a couple builder trainings coming up that will be talked about there, because the word I was struggling for was tax credit.
Okay.
So there's like 30% solar tax credit that's wrapped into that Inflation Reduction Act. There are also some tax credits that go directly back to the builder for building a home, an Energy Star home or a DOE Zero Energy Ready home. So there are a variety of different tax credits, and a lot of that hasn't been released because the Inflation Reduction Act doesn't necessarily detail out how you actually implement it. It tells you give them a 30% tax incentive on adding solar to your house, but now the Department of Energy and others have to say, well, how do we actually do that? How do we work with the IRS? How do we demonstrate compliance? And all those rules are starting to be worked out right now.
So similar question, there is a, if I understand correctly, an electrification rebate or deduction from the state of Colorado. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, so if you are thinking about electrifying your home, through, for example, the Energy Star 3.2 Next Generation program, which is also electrifying. If you did the Energy Star Next Gen program, you're eligible for $17,500 from Xcel Energy. If you do that program and also permit your house under the 2021 IECC, you're eligible for an additional $10,000 for electrification of your house. So
That,
it's
that additional money is from the state?
that additional money's from the state.
Very good to know.
Yeah, and so
Now,
you should know that you could build to just the 2021 IECC and electrify your house and still get that $10,000. Your incentive for building to the IECC would be $7,500 though. So you can mix and match those things, but if you really want to take advantage of the incentives, the best way to do that would be to use the Energy Star Next Gen program plus the Colorado electrification.
Right. All right. So Chad, there are a number of things come up for some people. One is Louisville, if I recall correctly, rescinded the need for having fire sprinklers in the home.
Correct.
Am I correct in that?
Yes.
But nonetheless, if somebody wanted to go do fire sprinklers, are there two paths that they could take to do it?
There are. They could go the standard path. There's also a path out there where you tie into the plumbing system of the home. You just have to, there can't be any dead ends, meaning that, hey, if you run a line from, say, your toilet area or bathroom area to that sprinkler head, you have to have the dead end on a sink or something that uses the water periodically, so you don't get stagnant water in the line.
Right, but so this other path you mentioned, I'm guessing it's less expensive?
It is. It's less expensive. It uses kind of a PEX pipe system in the homes. It was originally, that was the kind of the intent purpose behind the sprinkler requirements in residential homes when it first came out in the building code.
So, maybe you want to explain what a conditioned attic is and what one would have to do if you had a conditioned attic or not a conditioned attic?
Yeah, so a conditioned attic is what we see mostly in like the ski resort areas, colder communities in the mountains where they really try to stop the ice damming taking place. And what they end up doing is using like a closed cell spray foam, and they put it up against the roof deck. And then you'll have to have a thermal barrier or a therm barrier applied to that closed cell spray foam for the code for fire retardant issues. But what that does is basically turns your whole attic space into a conditioned area. So if you wanted to put your furnace up there, your 96% furnace, you could do that without worrying about the pipes freezing on the condensate line. Or you can run water lines, your sprinkler line, without the need for glycol in that space right above your ceiling.
But if you did not have a conditioned space, you'd have to, if you went the path you had mentioned about having it basically end at a faucet or toilet or whatever, you in this other route, they didn't have a conditioned attic. This would not be an alternative?
It could still be an alternative. What you would have to do is there's different methods out there where you basically tent it and put the insulation above where the water lines are being ran, meaning that basically there's the drywall and then you have a void, and then your pipe's right there, and then you have the insulation that's kind of tinted up and over it.
Yeah.
Okay,
There are also techniques to actually bring the piping into the conditioned space, which work really well. And the whole problem with fire sprinklers is that they can be pretty detrimental to the building thermal envelope and the performance of the house from a comfort, durability, and kind of energy efficiency perspective. So when you put that sprinkler outside the building envelope, you have to protect it from freezing. There are different techniques of doing that so that are less detrimental in essence to the building thermal envelope. And so it's just something that should be considered, I guess.
is that necessary if it's a conditioned attic?
No.
Go. All right.
The other benefit of conditioned attic, which I think is one reason why the municipalities are allowing sprinklers to be an option rather than a requirement, is that that conditioned attic is not vented. So in a wildfire like happened in the Marshall Fire, a large reason why a number of those homes burnt was because the ventilated attic and the ventilated crawl spaces actually depressurize, meaning that the wind comes over the house and creates a positive pressure on the wind side, but on the opposite side, it creates a negative pressure, which means that it's actually sucking in air. And with that air, it was sucking in embers into the attics and into the crawl spaces and catching the houses on fire from inside. So if you have a conditioned attic, you remove that attic ventilation and you make that house more in essence, fireproof. Now, there are lots of other things that you need to do as well in terms of your material choices and whatnot. But it is it is part of the strategy to fireproof your home.
Okay, so
I shouldn't say fireproof because it's not going to be fireproof. They often say harden your home against fire. So it won't necessarily mean that your house won't burn, but it's going to be much more difficult for it to catch fire.
Yeah,
am I correct? You'll still have penetrations going through the roof for vent pipes? For vent pipes?
For vent pipes, but you won't get the ash or ember. If it goes down a vent pipe, it's going to hit water. So, you know, basically what a heated attic space does is it prevents the opening. You're not inviting the embers to come in from the firestorm that so many of these homes did. And a lot of these homes that partially burnt, you would see where, just as Robbie was saying, it started on the opposite side from what you thought it would start. It started from inside the home and started burning until the fire department got it out, if they were lucky enough.
So from a standpoint of fire hardened materials, can people reach out to the city or the county or whatever with regards to possible suggestions for siding, decking, roofing, and that big issue? Chad, you know I was going to bring it up, fencing?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, that was one of the takeaways from this is we saw where the fire department is cutting down a lot of the cedar privacy fences. And a couple of the homes I saw were the wings of the fence that ran along the property line where they came up to the house to separate the backyard from the front yard burned, and it was hardy board siding, and you could see the outline of where the fence and the post burned, and the hardy board held up really well in a lot of aspects. In some other cases, you know, people had hardy board siding put on, but there was a weak link. Meaning that, you know, when they put it on, they weren't really thinking about, hey, this is going to protect the house from fire. They were just trying to protect it from the moisture. they didn't get the lower SB or OSB covered up as they put that siding on. So the OSB was still vulnerable to ground fire. And a lot of times it would start burning from the ground on up on corners of homes.
Yeah.
So Robbie, is there
Just-
somebody in the county that people can reach out to as well for?
Yeah, there definitely is. I don't know the name off the top of my head, but they do have a wildfire prepared, or they have a wildfire coordinator and person that can be reached out to. If you starting with, you can reach out to me, and then I'll find the actual name of that person. I actually haven't met that person yet. But I did put into the chat there are a few different wildfire programs for houses. This one, the one I put in is called Wildfire Prepared. And they have a great website that gives you lots of information about what you can consider with regards to hardening your building against fire.
So Robbie, do I have it correct that there's like two different, I don't want to say standards, but ways that the county calls out for fire hardening, one in the mountains and one out in the plains?
I believe so. I'm not the true expert on that, but I
That's
believe.
fine.
Yeah. I mean,
I just know-
the reality is that the fire that happened on the plains was significantly different than a normal, what we quote unquote normal wildfire that you would expect in the mountain region, in the foothills, for example. So what it doesn't necessarily translate into what you would do for your home, but in essence, the surroundings of your home, preparing your acreage, if you had pine trees and whatnot around your house, and clearing out brush and whatnot, isn't what we have to do down here on the plains. However, you do need to make sure if you have gutters that your gutters are cleaned, and that if you have jogs in your building that it's not collecting debris like leaves and grass clippings and those types of things, because as those things dry out, they become combustible, and you don't want that next to your house. So a lot of fire preparedness is, normal maintenance that you do on your house, along with hardening the shell of the house against fire.
All right, so property setbacks, because that sometimes gets to be an issue, especially in Louisville. I don't know how it works in the county, but I do know how, at least in my neighborhood, how it works. How do people learn about the necessary setbacks for your specific development in Louisville?
So in Louisville, probably the best bet is talk with the planning department as far as what the setbacks are in your neighborhood. Every neighborhood's just a little bit different. Fire code basically calls for a 5-foot setback from the property line on residential properties. Anything closer than that needs to be basically a fire rated material. So far, everything that we're seeing coming through is meeting that criteria as far as a 5-foot setback. We may have some eaves that need to be fire treated or protected that are going over within that setback. But every subdivision's a little bit different. So reach out to the planning department in Louisville if you're in Louisville.
And Robbie, I don't want to put you on the spot, but is there something similar to that for Boulder County?
Yes.
Okay. In Louisville, again, I'm pretty aware of it, but I don't know if everybody is, about plumbing fixture count. What resources available help people determine if that, if there's this magic number in Louisville, if you're 30 or above, I believe is the case, that you have to go to 1-inch water main to your house?
Yeah, and that comes at a bargain rate of like $40,000 to upsize your water meter. So you'll want to stay under that fixture count of 30. So on the website, there's a fixture count form. Also, what you can do is you can call Public Works, and they can run you through the fixture count form as far as if there's any questions on that. And that's kind of the key, is you want to stay under that magic number. Otherwise the city will charge upsize to a 1 inch for that meter. We don't charge a upsize 1 inch if you have sprinkler, if you're having a sprinkler system installed and you need a larger meter on that end, but you can't go over that fixture count number even with sprinklers.
I think the number is $41,800.
Yes, I forgot that $180.
Sorry. Well, no, it's 1,000.
Oh, 1,000, yeah.
$41,800. It's just, maybe decimal dust, but it's still is something that's important.
Yes.
So again, I think, working with Public Works is something you want to make sure you don't get surprised about it when the permit's submitted.
Correct. Yes, it's a pretty good chunk change, and usually Public Works will give you a call and say, hey, you're over this number, can you reduce something? Either a yard spigot or a wet bar. There's ways to get it back down.
I'm not certain if I understand this correctly, and you may not know the correct answer to this, but if you can show that you had fixture count from your original permit or permits along the way, the city may grandfather you in. I'm not certain if that's
They
true.
could, yeah. If you say that you had 1 inch meter before, they'll grandfather you in. Or if you had a fixture count unit that was higher than that, and you can show it from a previous plan that you had and was saved, they'll take a look at it and they may grandfather you in.
Yeah, again, it's just asking the question. Again, it may or may not, depending on circumstances.
It never hurts to ask.
Yes. So does a city or county get involved in approving structural engineering designs?
Yes.
We do. Yeah.
Okay. And the county as well, or does it revert to the state?
The county would for buildings built in unincorporated Boulder County. But otherwise, each jurisdiction, Superior and Louisville, would do their own.
And then the magic issue of what's happening with regards to use taxes. I know this is kind of outside the scope of this, but it's still an important topic for a lot of people, including me, to understand what may have been waived or possibly waived or not waived. So I know Louisville has, Chad, you might want to describe what Louisville has done.
Okay. So there was an emergency meeting with City Council, and they ended up waiving 100% of the use tax for the fire marshal homes if they were under the 2021 code or greater. If you're under the 2018, it's a prorated number, which I don't know what that is exactly. You'll get some back, but you won't get it all back. And there's a form that you have to fill out to request that money back. And if you're requesting that money back before your permit is issued, it will be actually deducted off of the permit fee before you pay the permit fee. For those of you that have already pulled a permit, you can request that money back through a form, and the check will be mailed to you. But yeah, the big ticket is for 100% of that city use tax to come back to you. You have to be under the 2021 IECC. Which is either the prescriptive, the HERS, Appendix RC, or even the passive home will account for that as well.
So from a county standpoint, what has the county done, and which affects Louisville and Superior as well, because we may end up paying use tax on that. Has the county done anything?
The county has, so on the county use tax, for Louisville residents, they will have to go through Boulder County. They will get $3,500 back.
And then has the state done, has the state RTD, any other use taxes, have those been waived or altered?
No, not that I know of. Do you know, Robbie?
I don't know.
Okay.
And thank you for knowing what the county does, because I don't know that either.
Okay.
Don't mean to put you on the spot, but again, some of these are really important. And I see, Robbie, you put your contact information up there. I don't know, Chad, if you want to put yours in the
Yeah.
chat. I'm out of my own questions. If people want to ask questions to our esteemed panelists, just unmute yourself and ask a question or put it in chat.
While we're waiting for that, I just was looking up unincorporated Boulder counties. So there was some there, they do have some water conservation measures. It's all around choosing EPA labeled water sense fixtures, faucets, toilets, and all that. So it's not quite the same as what Louisville is doing with regards to water lines and whatnot. But they are looking to get more water efficiency. And depending on the size of the house again, they might also require that you do a hot water recirculation system in the house so that you're using less hot water and you're getting hot water to that farthest fixture immediately.
So you're talking about a recycle, basically it cycles through the entire system. It just keeps pumping around when
Yeah.
it's not being used.
No, it's on demand. So it's either on demand so that when you're about to use the faucet, you push a button and it activates and primes the system, the pump at
Got
that
it.
point. Or some are timer based. So if I wake up every morning at 6, it would prime itself at 6. By the time I get to the shower, I've got hot water there.
No, that's interesting. I've not heard of that before, but it makes sense. I believe Hannah is aboard from Boulder County. I don't know what CP and P stands for, but maybe you can add some light as to use taxes and the like.
Robbie did a great job covering the use tax. That's all the information I have. I do know the mechanism for getting that back to people is still in development. So I would just ask folks to sit tight and we will roll that out as soon as we have the information for folks. I would recommend they check our Marshall Fire website for those sorts of updates or reach out to their rebuilding coordinators on that subject.
So was there a use tax put in place for people who had damaged homes?
Well, use taxes are collected as part of the building permit fees. So it would be the same whether your house was damaged and you needed to pull a permit or if it was destroyed.
Would those people be eligible for a rebate on use taxes? That's
a fantastic question. I don't know.
Yeah, because I know a lot of people who houses got smoked and they ended up spending a bit of money in regards to new windows, siding, attic insulation, carpeting, all that.
Yeah, I'll take a note and make sure that we communicate on that question as well.
There are some incentives beyond use tax is available to those folks. For example, insulation rebates and whatnot. And you can reach out to Energy Smart and talk to Rachel in our office, and she can guide them to those incentives and rebates that are available to them.
And Chad, anything similar in Louisville?
So it's just going to be the XL rebates. So if your house was smoke damage, you do have to meet the 2021 energy code as far as putting the insulation back in, which is R60 in the ceiling, R21 in the walls. As far as use tax refund for homes that were smoke damaged, we don't have any rebates at this point. the thought was if the house was on fire or burning, then you'll get that use tax rebate per se. But if it did not have fire on it and it wasn't burning, then you would have to go with the 2021 code, and you don't get any use tax rebate other than the Excel incentives that Robbie was talking about.
Is there any other questions from our audience? Well, with that, I want to thank Robbie and Chad and now Hannah for being part of this today. A lot of great information that you guys shared with us, a lot of things that I learned about. This, for people who couldn't make it, this has been recorded and will be put up onto the Home Builders Association Metro Denver website sometime in the very near future for others to be able to watch. But I want to thank everybody for being here this evening.
Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.